Selena Ortiz had built her career on avoiding surprises, from white orchid centerpieces ordered 6 months out to color coded timelines for every champagne toast. She handled Caribbean destination weddings with the precision of a ship's navigator. Yet on the sun hammered Wednesday before the Navarro Navajoan ceremony, Hurricane Isadora pirouetted off her predicted path and made for the Grenadine archipelago like a diva determined to crash the party. By dawn the next day, Selena's tidy world was reduced to quick calculations and faster decisions. She evacuated the bride, groom, and most of the guests to the main island's reinforced hotel. But a final errand remained, retrieving a custom silk banner left with an artisan on the adjoining quay. It was a small detail, but the bride wanted her family crest unfurled behind the altar, and Selena refused to let a storm ruin that perfect moment. "Take Marcus with you," the bride insisted between anxious sips of coconut water. "He's already going for the GoPro footage. Besides, I trust him with my life." "And yours." Marcus Hale, best man and former college roommate of the groom, looked up from his camera bag. Salt-light eyes, sun-brushed skin, and a smile with enough wattage to power a beachfront resort. Marcus was the kind of man who made people forget their lines. Selena hadn't forgotten hers, she merely practiced them in private. She nodded, businesslike. "Fine. Fast in, fast out. We'll beat the feeder bands." They loaded into a 22-foot skiff, piloted by a local deckhand. The sea had already taken on that steely green hue, signaling trouble, but the waves still flirted rather than punched. 20 minutes out, the deckhand's radio crackled. The Port Authority had shut all channels. Returning would require threading needle-thin passes through reefs in rising chop. The deckhand paled. "We can't head back," he muttered, knuckles bleaching on the wheel. "Nearest high ground is Isla Lucero. I'm putting you two ashore before this girl rolls us." Selena opened her mouth to object. Marcus read the forecast on his wrist GPS, then squeezed her shoulder. "We'd be deadweight on the boat. We'll ride it out together." Lightning speared the horizon like a photographer's flash. Decision made. The deckhand nosed toward a sliver of land barely wider than a football field. Palm trees leaned as if whispering secrets to the surf. Limestone ruins crowned its center, shattered columns arranged in a lopsided ring. Locals called it Isla Lucero, but the old maps labeled it Ingles de los Corazones, St. Agnes of Hearts. Few visited except treasure hunters chasing legends of a Taína love goddess once worshipped there. Selena's stilettos were the first to go, left in the skiff as Marcus helped her scramble onto coarse sand. The deckhand yelled a blessing, then throttled away before the breakers worsened. Within minutes, horizon and boat alike vanished behind milky walls of rain. Thunder rolled overhead like bowling balls across pewter lanes. Marcus and Selena sprinted for the ruins, her satin planing binder thumping against her hip, his camera bag drumming against his back. They ducked beneath a half-caved portico that still offered relative shelter, though gaps in the limestone allowed thin rivers of water to slide through. Selena pressed her palms to her cheeks. "This was supposed to be a 10-minute chore." Marcus brushed wet bangs from his brow. "Hey, if the banner's ruined, we'll improvise. I can print high-res shots of their crest on parchment, string them like prayer flags tomorrow morning." Lightning showcased his grin, all easy optimism. Selena willed her heartbeat to slow. She rummaged through her binder. Laminated timelines, floral schemes, pledge letters from vendors, in short, a catalog of control rendered meaningless by the storm. "Take a breath," Marcus said softly. "We're safe for now." Selena clutched her binder like armor. "Safety isn't the issue, accountability is." "They're counting on me, yes," he said, "but right now, Mother Nature is editing the program." He pointed to the arched ceiling where faint carvings etched hearts entwined with shells. "Looks like we got a VIP ticket to her rewrite." A gust of wind howled through the columns, rattling fronds out on the beach. For a moment, they simply listened, breaths sank, tension crackling like static. Selena exhaled. You think we'll be here all night? Forecast says eye wall passes by midnight. Rescue boats by sunrise, once seas calm. His tone turned teasing. Unless the love goddess offers premium exit services. Selina allowed a thin smile. Though raised Catholic, she had a soft spot for folklore. Every culture's attempt to court the unknown. What's her name? Legend varies, Marcus said, slipping into storyteller cadence. Some call her Irema, spirit of clear waters and tangled hearts. Sailors swore you could hear her singing over the reefs. If two lovers made an offering at her shrine, they'd find their fates braided like coral branches. Selina raised an eyebrow. Convenient myth for an island that sells honeymoon packages? Marcus laughed. Probably. But I like to believe some places keep the echoes of devotion alive. You can almost feel it. He brushed a finger across a heart engraving, reverent where he might have been flippant. Selina noticed the care in his gesture. Less tourist, more custodian. She wondered what else he handled delicately behind that casual glow. Outside, rain hammered harder. The afternoon dimmed to a twilight blur, air thick enough to drink. A bolt of lightning struck a palm near the shore. Wood exploded, embers sizzling in the water. Instinctively, Selina folded toward Marcus. His arm looped around her waist, anchoring her. Easy, he murmured against her hair. The whisper lingered longer than necessary, but neither moved away. When the squall eased to a curtain rather than a wall, Marcus produced protein bars and a metal water bottle from his pack. Dinner is compliments of the minibar. They ate seated on a fallen column, toes submerged in rivulets swirling across the stone floor. He asked about her childhood on Puerto Rico, her first wedding gig at 16. She confessed she was the oldest of 5. Accustomed to being the responsible one, yet still checked Pinterest before bed to study centerpiece trends. Marcus shared how his parents were peripatetic teachers for UNESCO, uprooting him every 2 years. Photography became his way of pinning places to memory. I'm drawn to threshold moments, he said. Volcanoes just before eruption, whales cresting mid-breach. 2 people who haven't yet realized they belong together. Her eyes flicked up. Warmth flooded her cheeks. She blamed the humidity. The sky darkened further, storm's eye approaching. Wind dropped to a near whisper, unnatural calm that set nerves jangling. Marcus stood, scanning the interior. At the rear of the portico, a smaller doorway beckoned, half hidden by vines. Shelter in the innermost sanctum, he suggested. I'm not trespassing on a goddess, Selina said, half joking, half serious. But curiosity propelled her. They slipped through the doorway into what had once been a shrine, circular mosaic floor depicting 2 fish circling a heart. In the center, a pedestal still stood, its marble dish cracked but upright. The hush felt different here, thicker. Raindrops outside muffled as though walls bent sound. Marcus swept his flashlight across faded murals, couples trading shell necklaces, a moonlit sea swallowing 2 silhouettes intertwined. He set the beam on the pedestal. Well, Selina Ortiz, queen of orchestration. Any last-minute offerings? She thought of the binder clutched in her hand, emblemed of control she could no longer exercise. Slowly, she opened it, drew out a single laminated page. Tomorrow's ceremony timeline, columns of tasks, color-coded to the minute. It felt suddenly absurd. She laid the page upon the pedestal. I offer surrender, she whispered, surprised at her own words. Marcus drew in a breath. He removed a lens cap from his pocket and set it beside the timeline. I offer focus, he said, on what matters. Wind punctuated their vows with a moan through the doorway. Selina exhaled, a tremor leaving her chest. She hadn't realized how tight she'd wound the strings inside her until they slackened now. Marcus surveyed the chamber as if noting camera angles. Legend says the goddess sends a sign. Could be treasure or a shared dream or a thundering crack interrupted him. Outside, the storm's eye had passed. Wind returned roaring, pillars vibrating. The doorway behind them collapsed in a spray of rubble. dust mushroomed, but they were untouched. Selina coughed. Exit plan? He shone the flashlight around. Another narrow corridor branched off, partly concealed behind a fallen frieze. Looks like our only way out. They squeezed along the corridor, shoulder to ancient wall. At its end, a spiral staircase descended into musty darkness. Selina hesitated. Marcus extended his hand. She took it. Steps spiraled to an antechamber where water pooled ankle deep, lit by a natural skylight punched through limestone. On one wall hung a bronze gong, greened by salt. Under the skylight stood a stone bench dusted with sand, and upon it rested something unlikely. A roll of cream silk with cobalt embroidery, 2 dragons framing a crown. Selina gasped. The Navarroan crest, Marcus whistled. I thought that banner was on another island. It was, she said, gooseflesh rippling up her arms. The artisan must have ferried it here for safekeeping. Or maybe Erema believed you'd need proof that letting go doesn't mean losing everything, Marcus finished softly. Selina traced the embroidery. Her throat tightened. I'd planned weddings to help people believe love can be choreographed, but love is weather. Beautiful, dangerous, uncontrollable. Marcus set down his flashlight, cupped her elbows. Weather shapes coastlines. Maybe that's love's job too, carving us into truer forms. His voice dipped. Selina, we spend our lives backstage, arranging other people's big moments. Maybe this storm is ours. Moist air smelled of salt and possibility. Selina studied him, the raindrop caught on his lash, the humility behind his brightness, the silent patience with which he'd let her lead until she was ready to follow. She realized she was done resisting wonder. She lifted onto her toes, pressed her mouth to his. The kiss began tentative, 2 professionals checking boundaries, then ignited as thunder rumbled overhead. His hands slid to her waist, grounding her. Her fingers threaded into his damp hair. When they separated, they laughed, dizzy, like teenagers who'd skipped the rehearsal and jumped straight to the vows. A distant horn echoed. Coast Guard patrol running search patterns. They gathered the banner and retraced their path. Morning light angled through the ruined portico, bruised sky unfurling a blush of rose gold. The hurricane had moved on, leaving a hush full of birds just daring to sing. A rescue boat idled beyond the reef. Crew members waved. Marcus and Selina waded into surf, banner held high. As they climbed aboard, a medic fussed, but both assured him they were uninjured. Marcus whispered, You think we should tell them we found a goddess? Selina chuckled. Let's file that under proprietary magic, NDA required. Back at the resort, the lobby buzzed with guests, recounting narrow escapes. Selina reported to the bride banner pristine, schedule salvageable with slight adjustments. Ceremony moves to sunset tomorrow, she declared. Fresh air, post-storm sky, trust me. The bride hugged her, then darted off to try a gown matching the new lighting. Marcus drifted to Selina's side. Need an assistant? I need a best man who can follow instructions, she teased. Already on payroll. They walked onto the veranda, overlooking a sea now tranquil as silk. Selina breathed deep, tasting renewal. Funny how disaster rewrites destiny. Or reveals it, Marcus said, brushing his knuckles against hers. She folded her fingers through his. For the next 24 hours, they danced around each other with conspiratorial smiles, orchestrating the nuptials with renewed perspective. When the sun bled orange across the horizon and the couple exchanged vows beneath the resurrected banner, Selina felt none of her customary nerves, only gratitude. After the ceremony, Marcus called her onto the moonlit beach. Lanterns bobbed along the tide line, leftovers from the reception. He gestured to a makeshift altar of driftwood crowned with sea grapes. On it lay her laminated timeline and his lens cap, side by side, glittering with grains of sand. I brought back our offerings. He reached into his pocket, produced a ring of woven grass, simple yet deliberate, crowned with a tiny cowrie shell. Until we can shop for something more durable, I have no best man duties tomorrow. Might we spend the day drafting a timeline of our own? Selena's laughter mixed with surf. She took the ring, slid it onto her finger. Color coded? Only if you promise to let the weather improvise. She kissed him again, sealed by wind carrying distant music. Overhead, the Milky Way sprawled, galaxies of hearts forever engraving the night. For the rest of their lives, whenever hurricanes threatened, they would feel a thrum of anticipation instead of dread, remembering that tiny island where control surrendered to faith, and two strangers became destiny's co-authors under the silent, approving gaze of a goddess whose name tasted like salt, thunder, and the wild sweetness of unplanned love.